Welcome to another edition of the Here We Go podcast. Well, it was Ravens week, and I didn't feel very good about this game. I thought the Ravens offense was going to be too much to handle for our Steelers defense, and it turned out I was completely wrong. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin, and this defense somehow, some way, just always find a way to make it work against Lamar Jackson. The rest of the NFL can't figure this out. And if they have, they can't execute it the same way the Steelers do. And it's starting to get to a point where you wonder, is this actually in Lamar's head at this point? Like, he's 1-4 against the Steelers in this rivalry. He's not played well ever. I mean, last year, I shouldn't say ever. Last year was a bit unfair because he had like 7 drop passes by his receivers. So I guess ever is a strong word. But the point still stands. This guy just does not play well against the Steelers. And he was pretty bad yesterday. I mean, this is the number 1 ranked offense in the entire NFL. And I'm sorry to say, but the Steelers just completely shut them down. They had 2 big plays in that game. A 30-plus yard run by Derrick Henry and a 40-yard reception, roughly, for Isaiah Likely. I mean, that was it. Lamar's completion percentage was one of the worst of his entire career. Didn't have a ton of yards. They limited him in the running game. He had a big run at one point, but I mean, honestly, I'm in shock by how well this defense played against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, both. Derrick Henry had a great average. It was like 6.3 yards a carry. Again, most of that is on 1 carry. The rest of the game is pretty limited. They forced a fumble with Nick Herbig coming off the edge, chasing down Derrick Henry from behind to help punch that ball out. I mean, I'm in shock. I got to say, I'm in serious shock. And our offense, quite frankly, didn't do very well either. Russ struggled at times. Through the interception, I think he thought Darnell's size was going to allow him to make a play on that ball for whatever reason. Darnell didn't make an attempt to go get that ball. Turns out to be a pretty easy interception. It was kind of an awkward play to begin with. You know, Russ flushed out of the pocket. He just tries to throw one up, but it didn't look like Washington was prepared for that ball at all. But I got to say, it was a lot of fun to watch that game. I mean, it felt very much just like Steelers-Ravens. Both offenses struggling. Both defenses were very dominant in this game. Some of the things Colin and I talked about was the front of that Baltimore group. That group played very well as a unit. I thought Owe had a really, really nice game. I thought he had a fantastic game, actually, for Baltimore. Roquan Smith had some splash plays, but he was exposed at times, very similarly to what his season has been so far to this point. I don't know what the hell Marlon Humphrey was doing. I mean, that dude was frustrated. He looked out of sorts. He, quite honestly, didn't look like he wanted to be there. He was getting pushed around. He was getting frustrated. I thought they took him completely out of the game. Kyle Hamilton, for a guy who was banged up going to this, I thought he played well. Matt Abuke was okay. I didn't think he was anything special. But, I mean, the Baltimore defensive front had a good game. Broderick Jones definitely struggled again. He had some nice moments. I mean, there was a big run play where Darnell Washington comes in motion to the right side, and he gets a kick out on the defensive end. Has a real nice block there, and Broderick Jones absolutely collapsed the entire side of that defensive line down and made for a huge running lane for Najee Harris. It's just interesting that the guy has some plays where he looks good. He gets drive. He moves guys downfield. He just cannot figure out the pass sets at all right now, and that's where he's really been bad. Interesting to see that, again, Darnell Washington seems to have had a much larger impact on this game than Pat Freiermuth. I'm really kind of – I don't understand this. I don't understand this. I felt like this was a game where Freiermuth could have had a nice game with the middle linebackers for Baltimore struggling. I do think Trenton Simpson's a better cover linebacker, or will be a better cover linebacker than what he is right now. Great speed. He's got nice size. He's a guy who really could give Freiermuth a lot of trouble, but he's been so bad this year that I thought Freiermuth would have a bigger game than he did. But then again, I mean, Russ threw for just barely over 200 yards, so a lot of that to Pickens. I don't know. It's interesting. And if you think about a tight end hitting a seam route, I wasn't ready for the Darnell Washington seam route. I'm still. It's almost like we're misusing Pat Freiermuth in this offense right now. We're giving these seam route opportunities to guys like Darnell Washington, other plays for like Michael Pruitt, who wasn't in this game. And we're not drawing these same plays up. We're not getting the ball to Pat with these same looks. I don't understand it personally, but we need to figure that out because I think Pat is a better player than what his stats are showing. And honestly, we paid him to be a much better player than what he has been so far this season. He should be a much more impactful player. I thought the story of the game, quite frankly, was the inability to score touchdowns. I think we were 0 for 4 inside the 20-yard line. Settled for field goals each one of those times. I thank God Boz is the best kicker in the league. That game does not go the way that it went if Boz is not the best kicker in the league, because Baltimore's got historically one of the best kickers ever, and he missed 2 field goals, and that could have made this game much, much different. As it was, he does miss. He's talking about the playing surface not being ideal. Boz doesn't complain, doesn't make excuses. He gets it done. I mean, Chris Boswell should get that game ball along with some of the guys on that defense. That's the second game this year he's bailed us out and got us a win in a game where we really just struggled to score. Starting to feel like you need to see some Justin Fields red zone packages. If the offense continues to struggle in the red zone like this, it might be time to get Justin Fields in the game in the red zone, especially if you're within 10 yards. Let him do these read option plays and create with his legs. He's the best athlete on the field every game. And we saw him a little bit, and yeah, he made a boneheaded mistake with that sliding a yard early. But my goodness, that's a guy you have to get on the field. And if we're struggling to generate touchdowns, and I know Russ has been fantastic in the red zone last year, and I know that was kind of the calling card for why we thought this offense could be better. 20 touchdowns, 1 interception in the red zone last year. It's not the case this year. And I'd be really interested to see the snap counts from Mike Williams when we were down in the red zone, because I felt like he wasn't in the field a lot, except if we were running, 4 receiver sets. he was coming onto the field. We know Van Jefferson can't separate. Van's just not a good player. And I honestly, I don't see his value on the team anymore. I know he blocks hard. He has improved his blocking as the year has gone on. The dude just doesn't bring any value as a receiver. He doesn't play special teams. Yeah, he's a veteran, but so is Mike Williams. I just don't see the value anymore with him. Scotty Miller was in the game a couple of times. I don't know what it is, but I want to see more out of Mike Williams moving forward. We did try a jump ball to George Pickens where, honestly, I thought the left arm was held. I thought it should have been pass interference. Or maybe in the right arm, I'm sorry. Either way, one of the arms was held. Thought it should have been pass interference. Doesn't get called. That guy needs to get more than one look down there. I mean, you just create opportunities for him to go up and get the ball. That's all there is to it. Especially in a struggling team inside the red zone, give your best player a chance. I mean, you have to do that. George is tall, extremely athletic, insane body control. Why are we shying away from throwing a fade route to him or getting him in a slant where they have a pick play there in the middle or anything? Literally anything. I get it. They're trying to shade two guys over to his way. But if no one else is going to step up, you've got to do something. You have to do something. You can't just hope for a jump ball to Darnell Washington when that wasn't even the play call. You can't hope to see Van Jefferson get separation in the end zone. Pat Freiermuth isn't getting a lot of looks inside the red zone. It's this offense is being called so strangely, and I give a lot of props to what Arthur Smith has done so far. But there are some things that's kind of got me questioning why we're doing exactly what we're doing. Feels like there's a better way. And I really want to see Arthur Smith dial some more up to George Pickens and the goal line situations, the red zone situations. Manufacture ways to get that dude the ball. I mean, he's fighting for you all the way downfield. Give him the touchdowns. You have this trust in Russ. Trust Russ to throw that ball and put it in the perfect place where George can go get it. I thought the offensive line played okay. I think Zach Frazier is an absolute bona fide star in this league. He's a rookie. I think there's an argument to be made that he has been one of our best offensive linemen this year. Dan Moore was, I thought, pretty good in this game. Sam Malu was okay. I'm a little concerned about the fact that Sam Malu has not been better than what he's been so far this year, and we're letting James Daniels, who has been the best player on our offensive line for the last 3 years, walk at the end of the free agency here. That still is concerning with the age that we have for Sam Malu, but he was okay. He had one of the penalties that really kind of killed our ability to get a drive going, but that type of stuff happens sometimes. I don't know. I just don't think he's been a dominant guard like we expect him to be for a guy who was one of the better guards in his position, especially in Philadelphia. His first year here, we haven't seen that player so far this season. And Mason McCormick, man, I tell you what, the kid is a scrappy kid, man. I thought he was going to be a tremendous run blocker. He's actually been a tremendous pass blocker. But he's nasty, man. When he gets moving, he wants to hit people. And he was playing through the whistle He got into it with Roquan Smith. But the fact that he's downfield, 15 yards downfield, fighting with Roquan Smith, man, you have to love that as a Steeler fan. I mean, it's all about attitude. And I talked a lot about this, both in the podcast on Friday and also tweeting it out. I just think that whoever has the more gritty, more physical, more aggressive attitude in the Ravens Steelers games are the team that typically wins them. And that's why we won. They're a better team than we are, quite frankly. I think if you look at their roster, their offensive line has been better than ours all year, except for maybe week 1 or 2. Their tight ends are clearly better than our tight ends. Derrick Henry's clearly better than Najee Harris. Even the backups, I mean, they're solid players. Same as Jaylen Warren's a solid player, but he's not been spectacular this season. So I'm putting this in reference of what I've seen so far this season. Yes, he's been banged up. Yes, he's dealing with injuries. He's, is he 100%? We don't know. He was questionable going into this game, and actually at one point he was doubtful. So, you take it for what it is. I thought Jaylen actually played pretty well, but they clearly like their backup back as well. And Lamar is the 2-time MVP in this league. Won it last year, on pace to win it this year. I think is pretty safe to say he's a better player than Russell Wilson. Our defense is just better than their defense as a whole. As much as I think their offense is significantly better than our offense, even though we were the 12th scoring team in the league going into this game, I think that we are just as significantly better defensively than they are defensively. And I think that, honestly, the game plan worked. The home field advantage worked. And we generated 3 turnovers. They had 1. That was the difference in the game. We took care of the ball. And we got a victory because of it. And that's all there is to it. And you can't really make an argument that it should have been any different. Tomlin loves these gritty games. And I'll say this. Not only are we first in the AFC North right now, this win is such a massive win moving forward because it's set a tone with Baltimore that we can beat you. We can win the AFC North. And not only can we win the AFC North, I think it's time to start having conversations about whether or not we can make it to the Super Bowl. This is how significant this win was. We're going to have a short week going into Cleveland. I think that's going to be important. It's going to go a long way to keeping our momentum. This is the type of game where you could see a team falter and kind of be a little too relaxed. Actually, like that Russell Wilson talked about the fact that they can celebrate for the next 2 hours, not 24 hours, because they have to get ready for Cleveland. Thought that was a great moment of leadership there by your QB1. But great team win all around. Chris Boswell deserves everything, every penny that dude makes. I can tell you that. I thought Minkah Fitzpatrick played another really good game. People are going to dog him for not getting the turnovers and this and that. Minkah's a great player. Minkah is a great player, and he makes this defense work. Cam Sutton had a better bounce back game. Peyton Wilson was fantastic. E-Rob was fantastic. These linebackers are really coming along. And I tell you what, this defense is getting fucking scary good now. It's getting to the point where they are scary good. We just shut down the Commanders. We shut down the Ravens. I don't know what else you want. Anybody who says, oh, well, they're the highest paid defense in the NFL, doesn't matter. They're playing like the highest paid defense in the NFL as well. Ravens were the best rushing team in the NFL. We shut that down for the most part. We did not allow them to get on time and in rhythm and start moving. Great win. Massive, massive win. So we'll dive more into this with Colin on Wednesday, but I thought it was a fantastic team win. We needed this win so badly for the outlook of the AFC North. But tell me what you think. I know people are going to talk about the lack of offensive scoring, but it's Baltimore, Pittsburgh, guys. Like it was always going to end up this way. Just it's destiny. So let me know what you think. Leave some comments, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when we're on. Love seeing the engagement. Love seeing you guys in the chats. Hope y'all have a great day.